Imagine standing on a lonely beach in 1590, the salty Atlantic air mixing with the scent of pine and the distant crash of waves. The early morning fog clings to the coastline, blurring the line between land and sea as you step onto the shore where hope and uncertainty once mingled. You've just returned from a perilous journey across the ocean, braving storms and dwindling supplies, expecting to find your village alive with laughter, the smell of cooking fires, and the familiar faces of friends and family. Instead, the settlement is eerily quiet, the only sound the wind rustling through the trees. Instead, silence greets you. The settlement is gone, houses dismantled with care, as if the inhabitants had time to plan their departure. There are no signs of violence, no scattered belongings, no graves or evidence of disease. The entire community has vanished, without a trace. Over 100 people, including women and children, have vanished, leaving only a single word carved into a post, CROATOAN. The letters are deep and deliberate, a message left behind in the hope that someone would understand. This was the reality for John White, governor of the Roanoke colony, who returned after 3 long years away. He had left behind his daughter, son-in-law, and infant granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World, only to find them all missing. The thriving community he left was now a ghost town, overtaken by weeds and silence. The once bustling settlement had become a haunting symbol of loss, sparking one of America's oldest and most enduring mysteries. The careful dismantling of homes suggested a planned departure, not panic or violence. Timbers were stacked neatly, and there was no sign of a hurried escape, raising more questions than answers about what happened to the settlers. But where did they go? Why did they leave? No letters, no messages, just that cryptic clue carved into wood. The settlers had agreed to leave a sign if they moved, and a cross if they left under duress, but there was no cross, only the word CROATOAN. The silence was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the hope and ambition that once filled the place. The empty homes and deserted paths seemed to echo with the ghosts of those who had vanished, leaving behind only questions. CROATOAN. Was it a destination, a warning, or something else entirely? The word pointed to a nearby island, but its true meaning remains shrouded in mystery, fueling centuries of speculation and legend. White wanted to search further, desperate for answers, but violent storms and a restless, fearful crew forced him to abandon the search. He was compelled to return to England, leaving the fate of the colony unresolved and the mystery unsolved. He would never see his family again. The pain of not knowing what happened to his loved ones haunted him for the rest of his life, as it would haunt generations to come. The lost colony of Roanoke became a cautionary tale of the dangers and uncertainties faced by the first European settlers in America. Their disappearance remains a symbol of the risks, hopes, and heartbreaks that defined the earliest days of colonization. What happened to the 115 settlers? Did they join local tribes, perish in the wilderness, or move on to an unknown fate? The question still echoes from that silent shore, unanswered after more than 4 centuries. The mystery began with this eerie discovery, a place of dreams and ambition turned into a haunting enigma, its secrets swallowed by time and the relentless sea. The only answer left behind was a single carved word, a silent testament to a vanished colony and a mystery that endures to this day. The lost colony's story began with hope, as a new dawn broke over the wild, uncharted lands of the American coast. For the English, Roanoke represented not just a distant territory, but a chance to establish a permanent foothold in the New World, a place where dreams of prosperity and adventure could finally take root. In 1587, a group of 115 English men, women, and children, families, craftsmen, and laborers, set sail across the Atlantic, braving treacherous seas and the unknown. Their journey, sponsored by Sir Walter Raleigh, was part of England's ambitious plan to expand its influence and compete with Spain's growing empire in the Americas. Unlike a previous failed military expedition, this new group was different. They brought wives, children, and hopes for a thriving community. Their mission was not just to survive, but to build homes, plant crops, and create a lasting English presence on the continent. John White, an accomplished artist and mapmaker, was chosen as governor. His skills were invaluable. Not only could he lead, but he could also document the land, its resources, and its people, providing vital information for future expeditions and for those back in England. The colonists arrived on Roanoke Island in late July, greeted by dense forests and the humid summer air. Eager to start anew, They quickly set about exploring their surroundings and searching for the best place to settle. The settlers repaired the remnants of the old fort left by previous expeditions, cleared land for crops, and made efforts to establish friendly relations with the local Algonquian tribes. They knew that cooperation with the native people could mean the difference between survival and failure. White meticulously documented the landscape, the flora and fauna, and the customs of the native people. His drawings and notes remain some of the only first-hand records of the early colony, offering a rare and invaluable glimpse into their daily lives and the world they encountered. But optimism faded quickly. Supplies brought from England ran dangerously low, and the settlers soon realized that the land was less bountiful than they had hoped. Tensions with some local tribes began to simmer, making trade and cooperation increasingly difficult. Isolated from England and surrounded by uncertainty, the settlers watched their resources dwindle. Their dream of a new life was quickly turning into a desperate struggle for survival, as hunger and fear set in. The memory of past violence with local tribes haunted the colony, making trust and cooperation difficult. Every shadow in the forest became a potential threat, and every encounter with the unknown was tinged with fear. Their new beginning, once so full of promise, was already at risk. Caught between hope and hardship, the fate of the Roanoke settlers was becoming more uncertain with each passing day. Amid relentless hardship and uncertainty, a rare moment of hope emerged. Eleanor Dare, daughter of the colony's governor John White, gave birth to Virginia Dare. This tiny infant became the first English child born on American soil, her arrival marking a profound milestone not just for the settlers, but for the future of English colonization in the New World. Virginia's birth was more than a personal joy for her family. It was a symbol of possibility and endurance. The colonists saw her as a sign that their settlement could truly take root, that families could grow and a new society might flourish in this unfamiliar land. For a brief shining moment, joy and optimism swept through the settlement. Laughter echoed in the cabins, and for once the colonists allowed themselves to dream of a future beyond mere survival. But the harsh reality of their situation soon returned. Food stores were running dangerously low, and the supplies they had brought from England were quickly dwindling, leaving the settlers anxious and uncertain about the coming months. To make matters worse, the ship's captain had carelessly damaged a significant portion of their provisions during unloading. Broken barrels and spilled grain meant that precious food and resources were lost, deepening the colony's crisis and threatening their very survival. As the first signs of winter crept in, the colonists realized with growing dread that they would not survive the harsh season without outside help. Their storage rooms were nearly empty, and the land around them offered little relief. Desperation set in among the settlers. They gathered around John White, their leader, pleading with him to return to England and secure the supplies and reinforcements they so desperately needed to endure the winter. White was torn between his duty as governor and his love for his family, especially his newborn granddaughter. The thought of leaving them behind in such peril weighed heavily on him, but he knew their survival depended on his decision. With a heavy heart and a promise to return as quickly as possible, John White agreed to make the perilous journey back to England. The colonists watched in silence as he departed, their hopes resting on his safe and swift return. As White's ship disappeared into the misty horizon, the fate of the entire colony hung in the balance. The settlers could do nothing but wait, clinging to hope as the days grew colder and the nights longer. Virginia Dare's birth was a historic milestone, a beacon of hope in a time of darkness. Yet even this miracle could not shield the settlers from the relentless challenges and dangers that surrounded them. Now the settlers' fragile hope was tied to John White's return, their future uncertain as they faced the long, unforgiving winter alone. John White's departure from Roanoke was not a decision made lightly. It was a desperate act, taken only after every other option had been exhausted. The colony's supplies were dangerously low, and the settlers faced starvation, disease, and growing fear as their situation became increasingly dire. The colonists, plagued by hunger and uncertainty, pleaded with White to return to England and secure much-needed aid. Their hope rested on his shoulders, as they watched their once promising settlement fall into ruin and isolation. With a heavy heart, White left behind his beloved daughter Eleanor and his infant granddaughter Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. The pain of separation was immense, but he was driven by the hope that his journey would save their lives. White's mission was clear and urgent: return to England, gather supplies, and bring them back before it was too late. The survival of the entire colony depended on his success, and every moment counted. The voyage across the Atlantic was fraught with danger. White's ship faced violent storms, unpredictable currents, and the constant threat of attack from enemy vessels or pirates, making the journey slow and perilous. When White finally reached England, he was met with chaos. The country was on the brink of war with Spain, and the entire nation was mobilizing for the looming conflict. The ports were crowded with warships, and resources were stretched thin. The threat of the Spanish Armada dominated every aspect of English life. All available ships, men, and supplies were commandeered for national defense, leaving little hope for private ventures or rescue missions. White's urgent requests for help were repeatedly ignored or postponed, lost amid the chaos of war preparations. His letters and pleas went unanswered, as the government focused solely on the imminent Spanish invasion. Back in Roanoke, the fate of the colonists grew more uncertain with each passing day. The settlement, already isolated and vulnerable, was now overshadowed by forces far beyond its control, a tiny outpost forgotten in the storm of European conflict. White's promise to return swiftly was slipping away. Delays mounted, and the window for a successful rescue narrowed with every tick of the clock, as his ship remained anchored in port, unable to depart. The survival of the Roanoke colony now depended on events and decisions made an ocean away, forces that neither White nor the desperate settlers could hope to influence or control. In England, John White was desperate to organize a relief mission for the Roanoke colonists, including his own daughter and granddaughter. He pleaded with officials, gathered supplies, and tried to rally support, determined to keep his promise to return quickly. But the outbreak of war with Spain changed everything. The threat of the Spanish Armada loomed large, and Queen Elizabeth ordered that all English ships be held for national defense, halting any civilian voyages across the Atlantic. Every available ship, from merchant vessels to fishing boats, was pressed into service for the war effort. White's repeated requests for a ship were denied, as England braced for invasion and prioritized survival over distant colonies. For 2 long years, White tried every possible avenue, submitting formal petitions to the Queen's advisors, seeking private investors willing to risk their fortunes, and even attempting to charter ships in secret. Each time, his plans were blocked by bureaucracy or lack of resources. Even when he managed to secure a small fleet, disaster struck. Pirates prowled the English Channel, storms battered the ships, and several vessels were lost or forced to turn back. White's hopes were dashed again and again. As the war dragged on, White's anxiety grew unbearable. He spent sleepless nights worrying about the fate of his family and the settlers, haunted by the thought that every delay could mean disaster for those he'd left behind. Finally, in 1590, as the war with Spain began to subside, White seized an opportunity. He secured passage on a privateering expedition, ships authorized to attack Spanish vessels, hoping to reach Roanoke at last, even if it meant traveling with men more interested in plunder than rescue. It wasn't the well-equipped relief fleet he had envisioned. Instead, White found himself boarding a small, lightly armed ship, joining a crew whose priorities were uncertain. Still, he knew this was his only chance to fulfill his promise. As the ship sailed across the Atlantic, White was torn between hope and dread. He imagined joyful reunions, but also feared what he might find after so many years of silence from the colony. 3 years had passed since he'd last seen Roanoke. The clock had been ticking relentlessly, and White could only wonder if anyone had survived the long, uncertain wait. Despite every setback, White's determination never wavered. He clung to his promise, vowing to return no matter the cost, driven by love for his family and a sense of duty to the lost colonists. Yet the fate of his loved ones and the entire colony remained a mystery. The settlement's silence was a constant ache, and rumors of disaster only deepened his fears. Now, as the ship neared the American coast, the long wait for answers was almost over. White braced himself for whatever he might find, knowing that the truth, whatever it was, awaited him on Roanoke's distant shore. On August 18, 1590, after a harrowing 3-year absence caused by war and hardship in England, John White finally returned to Roanoke Island. He arrived with hope and anticipation, longing to reunite with his daughter, granddaughter, and the other colonists he had left behind. The journey had been long and fraught with uncertainty, but the promise of seeing his family again kept him going. Instead of joyful reunions, White was met with an eerie silence. The settlement was deserted, No settlers greeted him, no smoke rose from chimneys, and the once bustling homes were now overtaken by wild, tangled weeds. Nature had begun to reclaim the land, erasing signs of human life. The houses themselves told a strange story. They had been carefully dismantled, not destroyed by force or fire. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, and no graves to mark the passing of the colonists. The ground was undisturbed, as if the people had simply packed up and left in an orderly fashion. It was as if the entire colony had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the ghostly outlines of their lives. The fog that hung over the island seemed to deepen the mystery, shrouding the empty settlement in an unsettling stillness. The only remnants of the colonists' presence were heavy objects, barrels, chests, and furniture, too cumbersome to carry away. The palisade, a wooden defensive wall, still stood, weathered but intact, suggesting the colonists had not left in a panic, but had taken time to secure what they could. The scene was haunting. Where there had once been laughter, work, and community, there was now only emptiness. The thriving colony, built with hope and determination, had been reduced to a silent, overgrown ruin. White and his men searched desperately for any sign of what had happened. They combed through the abandoned site, looking for messages, clues, or even graves that might explain the disappearance. But there was nothing. No written notes, no signs of violence, no evidence of where the colonists had gone. The silence was profound, broken only by the wind and the distant calls of birds. The overwhelming absence of human life pressed in on White and his men, making the mystery feel even more impenetrable. For John White, the devastation was personal. He had imagined a joyful homecoming, but instead found only emptiness and loss. The ruins of the settlement offered no comfort, only questions. The hope that had sustained him through years of separation was quickly replaced by dread and uncertainty. Each unanswered question weighed heavily on his heart, as he realized the people he loved might be lost forever. Scattered among the ruins were personal belongings, children's toys, household items, and tools, left behind as if their owners had expected to return. For White, these remnants were painful reminders of his missing family and friends, deepening the sense of tragedy. The once thriving colony, full of dreams and ambition, had become a ghost town. The buildings stood empty, slowly decaying, as the forest crept in to reclaim what had been lost. The only certainty was loss. A single weathered cross or grave marker hinted at sorrow but offered no answers. The sense of abandonment was total, and the pain of not knowing was almost unbearable. The question of what happened to the lost colony would haunt John White for the rest of his life, and it would haunt history for centuries to come, as the mystery of Roanoke remained unsolved. As John White searched the deserted settlement, he stumbled upon two mysterious clues left behind by the vanished colonists. On the bark of a weathered tree, the letters CRO were carefully carved, standing out starkly against the rough wood, hinting at a message or a destination. Not far from the tree, White discovered the full word CROATOAN, etched into one of the sturdy wooden palisades that once protected the colony, the letters deep and clear, as if meant to be found. These carvings were not hasty or panicked. They were made with intention and care, suggesting the colonists had time to leave a message rather than being forced to flee suddenly. The word CROATOAN referred to a nearby island now known as Hatteras Island, which was inhabited by the CROATOAN people, a friendly Native American tribe led by Manteo, who had long been an ally and guide to the English settlers. Before departing for England, White had instructed the colonists to carve the name of their new destination if they ever decided to move, so that he could find them upon his return. He also told them to carve a cross above the name if they were in danger or distress, a sign that would signal they had left under duress and needed help. But there was no cross, no sign of violence or struggle. Everything suggested the colonists had left of their own free will, not in a panic or under threat. Based on these clues, White became convinced that the colonists had relocated to CROATOAN Island, seeking safety, food, and perhaps the protection of their indigenous allies. For the first time in years, hope surged within White. He believed his family and the other settlers might still be alive, waiting for him just a short voyage away. Eager to reunite with them, White and his crew quickly prepared their ship to sail south toward CROATOAN Island, determined to solve the mystery and bring the colonists home. But as they readied to depart, a violent storm swept in from the Atlantic, battering the coast with fierce winds and towering waves, making the journey perilous. The ship's captain, anxious to return to England and unwilling to risk his vessel or crew in the treacherous weather, refused to continue the search, despite White's desperate pleas. Heartbroken and powerless, White was forced to abandon his search and leave the colony behind, the fate of his loved ones and the settlers still a haunting mystery. He sailed away from the American coast for the last time, never to return, his hopes dashed by the relentless sea and the passage of time. The settlement was left to the elements, slowly reclaimed by nature, its buildings crumbling and its story fading into legend. All that remained was a single enigmatic word carved into wood, a silent message echoing through history, the only tangible clue to the colonists' fate. And so the story of Roanoke ended not with answers, but with enduring uncertainty, a mystery that continues to captivate and confound to this day. The fate of the lost colony has fascinated historians, archaeologists, and storytellers for centuries, giving rise to a multitude of theories, each attempting to explain how an entire settlement could vanish without a trace. The most widely accepted theory suggests that the colonists, facing starvation and isolation, sought help from the nearby CROATOAN tribe. Over time they may have assimilated, adopting native customs and intermarrying, which allowed them to survive in the unfamiliar wilderness. Supporting this idea, later English explorers and settlers reported encounters with Native Americans who had gray eyes and could speak English, as well as individuals who claimed to have ancestors from the lost colony, suggesting a blending of cultures and bloodlines. Other theories are far more grim. Some believe the colonists perished from starvation, disease, or exposure to the harsh elements. Others suspect they were attacked, either by hostile local tribes who may have seen them as a threat, or by Spanish forces seeking to eliminate English footholds in the New World. One particularly chilling account comes from the Powhatan Confederacy. Chief Powhatan himself reportedly told John Smith that his warriors had destroyed the colonists, fearing they would ally with rival tribes. However, no physical evidence has ever confirmed this claim. The absence of mass graves or human remains at the site complicates these massacre theories, leaving open the question of what truly happened to the settlers if violence was involved. Some theories venture into the realm of the extraordinary, suggesting supernatural forces, curses, or even alien abduction. Others propose that the colonists, desperate and running out of options, attempted a perilous escape by sea, only to be lost to storms or the vast Atlantic. Another possibility is that the group split up, with some moving inland in search of safety or resources. This theory is supported by the discovery of a centuries-old map with secret markings and recent archaeological finds that suggest English presence far from the original settlement. Archaeologists have uncovered English pottery shards mingled with indigenous artifacts deep in the forests, hinting at prolonged contact and cooperation between the colonists and local tribes, evidence that the story may be more complex than a simple disappearance. Each theory, whether grounded in evidence or fueled by imagination, tries to fill the void left by the missing colonists, offering possible answers to a question that has haunted America for generations. Yet, despite centuries of searching and speculation, the truth remains elusive. The mystery of Roanoke endures, unsolved and as haunting as ever. The Roanoke mystery endures because it's a story of hope, risk, and the unknown, a tale that captures the imagination of historians and the public alike. The settlers who vanished left behind not just empty buildings, but a legacy of unanswered questions that have echoed through the centuries. Their disappearance is a haunting reminder of how fragile early dreams of a new world could be, and how quickly hope can turn to uncertainty. It reminds us of the courage and peril of early exploration. These men, women, and children crossed a vast and unpredictable ocean, braving storms, disease, and the unknown in search of a better life. Their journey was fraught with danger at every turn, from treacherous waters to the challenges of settling in an unfamiliar land, far from the safety of home. The vanished settlers are a powerful symbol of the New World's unforgiving nature. The wilderness that once surrounded their homes quickly reclaimed the land, erasing almost every trace of their existence. The harsh realities of survival, scarcity of food, harsh weather, and possible conflict were constant threats, making their fate a stark illustration of the risks faced by all who sought to colonize the Americas. Today, archaeologists and historians still search for answers, using modern technology to uncover new clues. Ground-penetrating radar, DNA analysis, and careful excavation have revealed tantalizing hints. Fragments of pottery, tools, and even European artifacts found miles from the original site. Each discovery brings us a step closer to understanding what happened, but the full story remains elusive. Each discovery breathes new life into the quest, keeping the public's imagination alive. The excitement of finding a single artifact, a piece of writing, or a clue buried for centuries fuels ongoing research and inspires new generations to join the search. The mystery of Roanoke has become a touchstone for those fascinated by lost histories and unsolved puzzles. The enigma forces us to confront the limits of what we can know about the past. Despite centuries of investigation, some answers may always remain out of reach, hidden beneath layers of time and nature. The silence of the ruins and the emptiness of the landscape remind us that history often leaves us with more questions than answers, yet it also inspires us to keep asking questions. The mystery of Roanoke encourages curiosity and critical thinking, pushing us to re-examine evidence, challenge assumptions, and imagine new possibilities. It is a puzzle that invites everyone, from professional researchers to amateur sleuths, to participate in the search for truth. The search for Roanoke is a search for our own origins. It connects us to the earliest chapters of American history, to the dreams and struggles of those who came before us. By seeking to understand their fate, we gain insight into the forces that shape the continent and the enduring human drive to explore, settle, and survive. CROATOAN is not an answer, but an invitation to wonder and investigate. That single word, carved in desperation or hope, has become a symbol of the unknown. It challenges us to look deeper, to consider every possibility, and to never stop searching for meaning in the mysteries of the past. The silent shores of Roanoke still challenge us to listen for the whispers of history. As the waves wash over the sand and the wind moves through the ancient trees, the story of the lost colony lingers, an enduring enigma that continues to captivate, puzzle, and inspire all who encounter it. The story of Roanoke is far from over. Centuries after the colony vanished, its mystery continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and storytellers alike, fueling countless theories and investigations. Each year, new explorers and curious minds are drawn to its silent shores, hoping to unravel the secrets left behind. From amateur sleuths to professional researchers, they comb through the ruins, searching for clues in the earth, the trees, and the remnants of old structures, piecing together fragments of a lost world. The questions echo through time, inviting each generation to leave their mark on the mystery. What happened to the colonists? Did they assimilate with local tribes, or did they meet a different fate? Every artifact discovered, every inscription studied, adds a new layer to the ongoing puzzle. As you listen to the whispers of the past, what do you hear? The wind through the trees and the waves on the shore seem to carry stories of hope, struggle, and survival, waiting for someone to listen closely enough to understand. Is it a warning, a lesson, or perhaps a call to adventure? The fate of Roanoke stands as a reminder of the risks and uncertainties faced by those who dared to cross unknown seas, and the enduring human desire to seek answers, no matter how elusive. The lost colony's legacy lives on, not just in history books, but in the hearts of those who refuse to let the story end. Every new theory, every expedition, and every retelling keeps the spirit of Roanoke alive, ensuring that its mystery continues to inspire wonder and curiosity for generations to come.